Because DW News and many European news, like France 24, do not allow my scientific response to the numerous errors in the comment section of news of such like this DW News. Dalai Lama announces he will have successor after death, DW News. And all my response disappeared. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how biased, how hateful, how anti-China, how anti-fact, how anti-history the West, such as DW News, is. Okay, so let's look at the comment section. So Free Tibet, okay, I have no comment about that. Free Tibet from China, I have no comment about that. Now look at this. It's very interesting that the Manchu people who ruled the Qing dynasty lost their culture and language in just 1 century. This is fact, true. I have no comment. Next one. Wow, wow, wow. Look at the slice link from DW. A failed uprising against Chinese rule is shady flea market stuff and equally godless and awfully groveling stance with regard to the CCP regime. Former PM of CTA, Lobsang Sengay La, the more he speaks, the more acidity he elicits in that helpless newsroom. So the time is cut short. Okay, true. I have no comment. Okay. Next one. May the dreams and aspirations of Tibetans come true. No comment. Free Tibet, free East Turkestan, free Inner Mongolia, independent Taiwan from this Emperor Ashoka the Great 250 BC. Okay? So this post obviously want to disintegrate China. So my response to this comment is, you don't know history, and history isn't important for you, and you obviously want ill of China, want to disintegrate China, because after all this so-called free, the last one is independent. You want Taiwan to be independent from China. So clearly this is a comment that is anti-China. And my response, identify the nature of this comment, is disabled, not allowed on DW News. It just shows how ugly Germany is, how ugly EU is, how ugly the West is. There is no speech freedom. There is no respect of speech freedom. They hate China because they see China as a threat. And then they come here, let these people who don't respect fact, who only want China to die, China to disintegrate, who disrespect Chinese people, to come here, allow them to post, to insult not Chinese government, but the Chinese people, every Chinese people. Another example, my response is not allowed. Jendun Choki Nimya, the Panchen Lama at age 6, was abducted along with his parents by China. He is the appointed successor. Okay? This is simply not true. this person was appointed by the Dalai Lama as the reincarnation of Panchen Lama. The Dalai Lama has no right in his own reincarnation or in the reincarnation of Panchen Lama. By the way, the correct name is Panchen Erdeni. It's not even Panchen Lama. And it has to be just like, it's a scientific fact. It's a historical fact that every reincarnation of Dalai Lama, from the very first one, has been approved by the ruler of China. Every one of them. The sixth Dalai Lama was rejected by the Tibetan people, and the Tibetan leaders sent this Dalai Lama to the capital of China, and on the way, this Dalai Lama, the sixth one, died. Dalai Lama, the current one or anyone before, has no right to name a child to be the reincarnation of Panchen Erdeni. Dalai Lama has nothing to do with the reincarnation of Panchen Erdeni. When the current Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, aspired to become independent from China, the Panchen Lama disagreed. And one of the reincarnation of Panchen Erdeni, who lived during the same time as the 13th Dalai Lama, he was poisoned and killed by the Dalai Lama. Even before he died, he wrote, in writing, Tibet is part of China. No matter how Qing China was defeated by the Opium War, or the British Raj is greedy and envisioned to take parts of Tibet out of China, which it did happen. The so-called the Indian occupied Kashmir is not an Islam kingdom. Its entire eastern one-third has nothing to do with Islam or India. It's a Tibetan kingdom called Ladakh. And that was taken by British Raj. And then, although Indians admit that India is not British Raj, but India claims Ladakh is part of its territory and occupying it as of today. I don't want to say how greedy, how filthy the India historically behaved like, because the Europeans, the EU, the white Christians are just as ugly and repulsive. But it has happened today. This is in 2025, in the July, beginning of July. Only anti-China lies. This one, Brenda Visagilia 9034 claim a Dalai Lama wantonly appointed boy to be Panchen Lama against all tradition, against all previous practice. Despite that, just a few reincarnations ago, Dalai Lama poisoned and killed the Panchen Lama, Panchen Erdeni, because the Panchen Erdeni refused to be separated from China. And my response, I just say what you say is not true. Dalai Lama does not have this historical right to appoint Panchen Lama. It's against historical practice. It's against history. It's against Tibetan written law. And such response is disappeared by DW News. Only out of the 14 Dalai Lamas, all of them are appointed by China. Zero. None of them is appointed by India. India is not part of Tibetan culture. India, it makes sense that people from India don't understand what really happened historically, where Tibet come from, where Tibetan people come from. They don't understand. And it's a culture fact. Like many people from India, they don't value truth. They don't respect history or truth. The top thing in their head is their own interest. And many of them are very, very greedy and delusional. And my point is, obviously, DW News does not allow me to speak the obviously the historical fact. Just this news reporter claimed China annexed Tibet in the 50s. Why? Just because Mao sent troops into Tibet? Tibet was part of China in Qing dynasty. Since 823 AD, in 823 AD, the Empire of China and the Empire of Tibet reached agreement, and that agreement was carved in stone. And that piece of stone is still standing in the capital of Tibet today. And it reads, Tibet and China merge as one nation, one people, for eternity. Who are you? Who are you? What do you know? And not only just Tang Dynasty, 823 AD, Tibet was part of Ming Dynasty. When Ming Dynasty was replaced by Qing Dynasty, Tibet was part of Qing Dynasty. When Qing Dynasty collapsed in 1912, there's official transition in writing of all Qing Dynasty's land and everything transferred to Republic of China. Everything is in orderly transfer. Tibet wanted, there are Tibetans, Dalai Lamas, the 13th, the 14th, wanted independence when China was defeated by the two Opium Wars. But at the same time, every province of China wanted to declare independence at that time. It's not just Tibet. And more importantly, no nation on earth recognized Tibet was independent from China. It's really just not. When you claim China annexed Tibet in 1950, it's your ignorance. You are wrong. It's you don't know history, don't respect history, don't know Chinese history, don't know Tibetan history, don't respect Chinese people, don't respect Tibetan people. That's what DW News and all these Western news are doing. So this is a report from France 24 English, okay, about the same topic. Now, under the comments, again here, my response is not allowed to show, okay? So here, this person, Plantosoklekson 5245, says, in fact, which I said, okay, this is in responding to what I wrote. I wrote, in fact, no nation on earth has ever officially recognized Tibet as an independent nation. The UK, the US, Germany, France, and the British Raj never officially acknowledged Tibet as independent from China. If you do not respect history or tradition, so be it. However, you cannot change history or tradition as they occurred in the past. Now, this person immediately say, okay, in fact, the USA did. USA Congress acknowledged Tibet has never been part of China since ancient times. Therefore, there is a law called Tibet Acts 2022 and Tibet Act Policy 2024. One nation does, FYI, show less. Okay? So he claimed that now we can do a search. Okay? So the poster mentioned two. One is the Tibet Act 2022. Now the question is the Tibet Act 2022 legally binding? Okay, here is the AI, ChatGPT. The Tibet Act 2022 is not a legally binding act. The legislation referred to is the Promoting a Resolution to the Tibet-China Dispute Act, also known as the Resolve Tibet Act, which was signed into law in July 2024. This act is legally binding and it was passed by Congress and signed by the President, become public law number 11870. Okay, so obviously there is self-conflicting information from the AI answer. At the first part, it says it's not a legally binding act, and the second part says it is a legally binding act. Okay, so clearly Google has self-contradiction. Okay, now how do we interpret this self-contradiction? From what I would imagine, this self-contradiction shows the self-contradiction in the U.S. legislature. That is, the United States legislature itself claim both it is not legally binding and claim it is legally binding at the same time. Okay, so given this reality, I answered to this person who claimed, by the way, the 2024 Tibet Act policy is an amendment to the Tibet Act 2022. So the nature of the two are the same. And if you Google whether it is binding, the answer is it is both not binding and binding. And it's signed by the president in 2024. So let's suppose this new USA Tibet Act 2022 and 2024 are legally binding. Okay, and suppose as the news, the France 24 claim, Tibet was annexed, quote unquote annexed by China in the 50s. Okay, now how many years has passed? 74 years. So 74 years later, after China has annexed Tibet, the United States government officially claimed Tibet was independent before China annexed it. Okay? 74 years later. You know, this is very important to notice. History is not something you can easily play with. Before 2024, for 74 years, the US, the United States, as acknowledged by this poster, didn't recognize Tibet was independent before China allegedly annexed it. And it's only 74 years later when the US sees China as a threat to its domination, to its hegemony, and when the US and the entire West, including racist Canada, brutally persecute Chinese people, when Germany and France, DW News and France 24, barbarically do not allow Chinese comments. It's when this happened, then the United States claim, oh, that 74 years ago Tibet was independent. I don't know what to say. If Western politicians, Western Christian-wise, are such shameless, naked, dumbass, evil, and racist, and then I don't need to say anything. You said them all. You behaved it all. 70 years, 74 years, okay, is not a legally binding act, is legally binding. See? So we can interpret this as it become legally binding in 2024, but still it's very difficult to explain what happened over the 74 years, and what, and also it's a major change of statement, and there is a mountain of documents, videos, evidence over the 74 years that the United States clearly identify it doesn't recognize Tibet was independent in the 1940s or 1930s. There's a lot of video, lot of documents. United States say that. Now United States changed the story in 2024. As if history, facts are lies. Just like their dirty, filthy religion, Christian Bible. Just like their dirty, filthy institution. The institution that murders people for its own interests. The institutions discriminate, persecute, harass, kill people for its own racist fear and racist ignorance and its racist hate. Conclusion: France and Germany are both ugly, racist liars. They don't respect other people. They don't respect themselves. The Western media is not to be trusted. You cannot trust Western media. You cannot trust Western politicians. And here, this guy, Dalai Lama, is only a pawn, a PAWN. He is played like a fool, FOOL, by the US and EU, Germany and France. Sorry to burst your bubble, Germany, France, US, and your hairy white man, Jesus Christ, who does not exist but is a invisible, imaginary friend of Western adults. Thank you. Bye-bye.